Min, a smart, active, and enthusiastic 5-year-old boy, lives with his family in a small house by the stream. Despite his young age, Min loves exploring nature, especially the forest near his house. One afternoon, while playing with the children in the neighborhood, Min accidentally went too far and got lost in the forest. He tried to find his way back, but the night fell quickly and the sound of the stream roared, making Min even more confused. In the midst of his panic, Min suddenly heard a soft hiss, and when he turned around, he saw a large hunting dog, but with gentle, affectionate eyes. The dog had a light, smooth coat and a muscular body, clearly a guard dog. Its name was Max. Max did not appear dangerous or aggressive. It stood there, looking at Min with knowing eyes, as if looking at the fear in the boy's eyes. Min walked closer and touched Max's soft fur, although he still felt nervous. But Max didn't attack, just lay down and gave Min a strange feeling of peace. Min sat down next to him, and a moment of quiet understanding passed between them. The boy was no longer frightened. The feeling of being lost in the deep forest seemed to disappear as Min felt the protection that Max provided. While the rain began to fall, Min found a dry spot next to Max and sat down. Max lay close to Min, like an invisible shield between him and the dangers outside. Under the dim light of the night sky, Min held Max's fur tightly. "Thank you, Max," Min whispered. Max stirred slightly, as if understanding that gratitude, and Min felt a strange peace, being protected by the dog in the vast and silent space of the forest. At this point, Min began to tell stories about his family, about the times he played with his friends, and interesting stories from school. Although no one answered, Min felt like Max was listening. He talked about his dreams for the future, about how he wanted to become a scientist to discover the secrets of the world. Max didn't say anything, but in a strange way, Min felt a deep connection between the two, as if they shared an unbreakable bond. When Min was tired and couldn't stay awake any longer, he lay down next to Max. The dog still lay there, protecting him, not leaving even a step. The cold winds began to blow, and the rain became more intense, but Max didn't move. Max's resilience made Min feel the power of unconditional protection. The boy hugged Max tightly, no longer feeling lonely. Max, although a dog, possessed a strong will and a loyal soul. It understood that in that moment, life and death could collide, but it would never leave Min. With every breath, Max clung to the boy, protecting Min with all his might. Although there were no words to describe it, in the dark night, a friendship was formed between Min and Max, regardless of the conditions, regardless of the lurking danger. As he drifted off to sleep, Min felt Max's presence beside him. The sense of security the dog gave him made him no longer worry about what might happen. Min's dreams were strange, a dream of a companion who would never abandon him. In his dreams, Min saw himself and Max exploring the world, facing challenges without ever feeling afraid. Max, although unable to speak, with a special intuition, understood that Min was the one he had to protect to the end. Max had been through many challenges, but had never felt like he had to face a threatening situation like this. And that night, as Min and Max both sought safety together, a sacred connection began. It was a wordless bond, but it was full of everything a loyal dog could give to a beloved friend. After a long night with Max, Min woke up as the sun was rising, a soft golden light shining through the trees. Although his body was still tired and exhausted from sleeping in the forest, Min felt a strange peace in his heart. Max was still lying next to Min, his gentle eyes looking at the boy, as if protecting him not only from the cold but also from the fear that had followed him all night. Min sat up, quietly stroking Max's soft fur. Despite being a hunting dog with a muscular body, Max did not show any signs of aggression or fear. On the contrary, this dog was very calm, as if he had lived in the peace of loyalty for a long time. Min realized that since meeting Max, all his worries and fears seemed to disappear. "Thank you, Max," Min whispered without words, just the feeling that this dog understood everything in his heart. Max responded with a slight wag of his tail, like a nod, a way to show their harmony. Min wiped away the tears that still lingered on his cheeks. He thought of his family, of his mother and father, who were anxiously searching for him. But in this moment, Min felt that, amidst the challenges and difficulties, Max was the indispensable friend in his life. Min promised that he would never forget this unconditional protection. The surrounding forest became bright as the sunlight filtered through the leaves. Min looked around and realized that this area was not too far from where he had been lost. but the forest was dense and full of traps, making all directions vague. The boy tried to stand up, his legs still shaking slightly, but his heart was full of determination. Min turned to Max, smiling. "We're going home, right?" Min said, although he wasn't really sure. But Max just looked at him with trust, as if to say that everything would be okay. The two began their journey home. Even though the boy was small and weak, Max was always by his side, never letting Min out of his sight. Whenever Min was tired or stumbled, Max would stop, gently rubbing his head against him, as if to encourage and help Min stand firm. Max's gaze was not only a protective gaze, but also a reassurance that there was nothing to be afraid of. Throughout the journey, Min and Max were not only companions but also people who understood each other. Min realized that Max was not just a dog, but the most loyal and trustworthy friend he could have. Every step of the way, Max was always by Min's side, giving him a sense of security, not because the boy was no longer afraid, but because with Max by his side, Min understood that nothing could stop them. The deeper Min went into the forest, the more clearly he felt the magical bond between him and Max. Every time Min talked, although he did not receive a verbal answer, Max's eyes and tail wags made Min feel not lonely. He told Max about his family, about his mother and father, about the strange things he had learned at school. Min's stories were not simply words, but a way for him to find comfort in a moment full of difficulties and dangers. Max also had his own way of responding to that friendship. Every time Min smiled, Max would chase after his shadow, as if he understood that Min was happy. Those moments made Min feel more deeply that the friendship between him and Max was irreplaceable, no matter what challenges came. The two continued their journey back, with Max leading the way, walking with vigilance. Min felt that not only did Max protect him, but sometimes he also felt the need to protect Max. He had been so used to relying on Max throughout this trip, but now Min realized that he also had a responsibility towards his friend. Finally, when the sun was high in the sky, Min and Max found the sign of the path leading home. Min was overjoyed and couldn't believe his eyes. That was when he heard a call from afar. "Moon! Moon!" A voice rang out from afar. Min stood up and started running towards the call. Max was always by his side, running fast as if he didn't want to leave Min behind even for a second. Finally, after a few tense moments, Min saw his parents and the villagers running towards him. The boy ran into his mother's warm arms, but didn't forget to turn back to look at Max. The dog was standing there, like a great warrior, still protecting Min even when there was no more danger. When Min returned to the loving arms of his family, he felt an endless gratitude towards Max. The two of them had survived a long night full of danger and storms, but they still returned safely. Min looked at Max, saying nothing, only knowing that in his heart there was an emotion that could not be described in words. "Max," Min whispered, "thank you for everything." Max just wagged his tail, as if he understood that even without words, their friendship would never change. Throughout that arduous journey, Min and Max's friendship gradually became deeper and more resilient than ever. The bond came not only from actions, but also from the wordless understanding, the unconditional protection that Max brought to Min. The two created a lasting friendship, where there was no room for fear or doubt. With Max by his side, Min not only found a loyal friend, but also found himself stronger and more confident in every challenge ahead. As dusk fell, Min and Max continued along the small path leading out of the forest. The air grew colder, and a light breeze blew, scattering dry leaves on the ground. Min felt tired but happy knowing that his family was close. However, no matter how hard he tried to hide his tiredness, the long days of hardship in the forest still left Min exhausted. Max walked beside him, showing no signs of fatigue. The big, steady steps of the dog made Min feel safe. The boy said nothing, but his gratitude for Max grew in his heart. Max was still the only friend who did not abandon Min, even when everyone in the village might have given up looking for him. Min found that Max's presence always gave him a sense of security, but as darkness gradually enveloped the forest, a strange feeling began to creep into Min's mind. The boy tried to shake off his worries and continue walking, but there was something in the air that made Min feel uneasy. And then suddenly Max's hiss rang out, pulling Min from his worried thoughts. Max immediately straightened up, his ears pricked up, his eyes shining brightly as he looked ahead. Min stopped, feeling the tension in the air. The boy looked around, but saw only dense darkness and silent trees. "Max," Min called softly, but the dog did not respond. Max just stared into the darkness ahead, not moving, his body tense. Min began to feel scared, a cold feeling running down his spine. Suddenly, a noise rang out from the forest, a strange noise, like a strong wind tearing the peaceful atmosphere. Max began to growl, his chest heaving violently. Min clearly felt the danger approaching. The boy wanted to run away, but Max stood in front of him, not letting Min move. At this moment, Min heard another noise, this time clear. A large black shadow, looming between the trees, was moving towards them. Min did not dare to breathe heavily, just stood still, his eyes following Max. Both of them knew that there was danger approaching, but neither of them knew that that night would be a life or death battle. A shadow gradually emerged from the darkness, a large wolf, its eyes glowing, staring at Min and Max. The hunting dog Max immediately stood firm, hissing menacingly. The wolf, with its silver-gray fur, its eyes sparkling like moonlight, approached cautiously. Min grabbed Max's fur tightly. The boy felt a wave of fear rush over him. Max, with his protective instinct, immediately rushed at the wolf. The two mighty beasts clashed in a fierce struggle. The wolf tried to bite Max, but Max dodged skillfully, blocking the blows with superior strength. Min stood still, scared, but did not dare to leave Max. Each of the wolf's bites was aimed at Max, but the loyal dog still stood firm, protecting Min. "Max, be careful!" Min shouted, unable to sit still and watch this scene. But Max did not retreat, he only fought more fiercely. Everything happened so fast, Min felt as if time had stopped. The wolf attacked again, and this time it hit home, tearing Max's fur, causing the dog to roar in pain. Max backed away, crouching a little, but never turning to run away. Min could clearly see the pain in Max's eyes, but the dog still stood in front of him, protecting Min with all the strength he had left. Min couldn't take it anymore. The boy rushed towards the wolf, screaming to attract its attention, but immediately Max roared again, hissing loudly, causing the wolf to retreat. Max had sacrificed himself to protect Min, and Min felt that tenacity. He couldn't let Max fight alone. The boy ran quickly towards a large rock nearby and found a long branch, hitting the wolf hard on the back, causing it to feel pain and retreat a little. The wolf roared angrily, but with Min's support, it eventually left, retreating into the darkness. After the wolf left, Min rushed to Max, his loyal friend. The dog was panting, his eyes softened, but his body was full of wounds. Min knelt down, his eyes filled with tears. "Max, don't leave me." Min held Max's fur tightly, his hands trembling. Max just growled softly, as if to comfort Min. Despite his injuries, Max still tried to stand up, wagging his tail lightly. Min hugged Max tightly, feeling the protection and unconditional love that the dog had for him. In the middle of the night, where there was only silence and fear, Min and Max won together. Max's loyalty was shown through every moment of the confrontation. The boy not only found a loyal friend, but also understood that this protection was indispensable in his life. Min felt more deeply than ever about the friendship between him and Max. Every wound Max suffered, every pain he endured, was a testament to Max's absolute loyalty to Min. The boy sat down, not knowing what to do to thank the dog for protecting him so much. But Min understood that there would never be a more beautiful friendship than the one between him and Max. After the life and death battle with the wolf, Min and Max continued their journey home. Although the wolf had left, Max was still seriously injured. The boy couldn't help but worry when he saw the wounds on the dog's body, long scratches and red blood that had weakened the dog significantly. Min tried to help Max move, but Max's every step was laborious, as if the dog was trying not to worry Min more. The two continued to move through dense forest areas, but Min couldn't help but notice that Max was getting more and more tired. The boy helped Max find a safe place to rest, under a large tree, where he could shelter from the rain and wind. But in Min's heart, anxiety grew even more. Max could only look at Min with gentle eyes, a gaze full of love and protection, even though his body was in pain. Min couldn't understand why Max was so strong, why the dog was so willing to protect him, even though the dog might have faced danger and pain. "Max, you'll be okay," Min whispered, but there was an inexplicable unease in the boy's heart. As Min and Max were resting, under the shade of a tree, a strange noise came from afar. It was not the sound of wild animals, but someone's footsteps. Min stood up, his eyes anxiously searching. Max was no longer as calm as before, but stood up, his back bent, growling softly. Min could clearly see the tension in Max's eyes. Suddenly, a group of people appeared from the middle of the forest. Figures in black coats, with quick and mysterious steps, were approaching Min, and Max. Min was startled, taking a step back. These people looked very strange, unlike anyone in the village or anyone Min had ever met. The light from their flashlights shone, and Min felt an inexplicable feeling, a sense of approaching danger. One of them approached Min. "Boy, we are looking for a dog. This dog is very important," the person said in a cold voice. Min did not understand what was happening. "The dog? Max?" the boy asked, but the man's eyes were devoid of any emotion, only coldness and determination. Min hugged Max tighter, not wanting to let go of the dog at all. Max growled, showing the tension in his body, but did not attack. The dog still stood firm, protecting Min even though he did not have much strength left. Min felt something was wrong. These people did not come to find Max. They were looking for something else, something much more valuable. "Max is no ordinary dog," one of the group said coldly, stepping closer. Min felt a chill run down his spine. These people did not come just to save Max. They were looking for some secret that Min could not understand. At this moment, Max suddenly stood up, although he was very weak. The dog growled, stretching his body as if ready to protect Min at all costs. Min looked at Max, realizing an indescribable resilience. This dog was no ordinary animal. There was something greater, a mission that Max had to carry out. This feeling was even stronger when Min saw Max's eyes, full of determination. The man opposite Min smiled faintly, his eyes as if he knew everything. "This dog has a past that no one knows. Max was once part of an experiment that we abandoned. But now we need to complete it. Boy, we just want your dog back." Min was completely stunned. He couldn't believe his ears. Max saw the loyal dog that he considered his friend was involved in some kind of experiment. A feeling of unease spread through Min. What were these people talking about? Why did they care so much about Max? Max looked at Min, his eyes as if trying to say something that Min couldn't quite understand. Min didn't know what he could do, but he knew one thing. He would never let Max fall into the hands of these people. "No, I won't let you take Max," Min shouted, determined to protect his friend. He didn't care about their explanations, didn't care about the reason they needed Max. This dog was his friend, and Min wouldn't let anyone take it away from him. Min rushed into the middle, shielding Max. He wasn't afraid anymore because Max was by his side. All the insecurities, all the doubts, all the cold wind no longer mattered. He knew that no matter what, Min and Max would never be separated. No matter what enemy they faced, he would stand firm with Max. The group took a step back, noticing the determination in Min's eyes. Both sides were silent. No one said another word. But the tension in the air was as if it was ready to explode. Max stood firmly behind Min, wagging his tail tenaciously, as if protecting the boy not only with his strength but also with his loyal heart. Finally, the other man signaled for the others to retreat. "We won't do anything this time, but we will come back." The men slowly retreated into the darkness, leaving Min and Max standing there, still in shock. Min looked at Max, seeing in the dog's eyes something he couldn't understand. But one thing was certain, the bond between them could not be broken, and anyone who wanted to harm Max would have to face Min. Min looked at Max with eyes full of emotion. He gradually understood that in this world, there are things that cannot be explained by reason. Max is a friend like no other, and perhaps this dog will be the key to unlocking a big secret that Min has not yet discovered. But one thing Min is sure of, Max is not just a dog, but an important part of his life. After the tense confrontation with a mysterious group, Min and Max continued to move through the forest, but the boy's mood was no longer as calm as before. He felt like he was entering a war not only with nature, but also with forces that he could not fully understand. Those strangers, who were they? Why were they looking for Max? And what happened to the dog that Min had always considered his most loyal friend? Max, despite being injured, kept walking beside Min. However, Min could feel the dog's exhaustion. Max's steps seemed heavier, and his eyes seemed to no longer shine as before. Min tried to comfort Max, hugging the dog, but could not dispel the feeling of anxiety that was rising in his heart. Everything will be okay, Max, Min whispered, although he could not really believe his words. The boy did not know what to do next. The situation was getting more and more serious. The sky suddenly turned dark. Dark clouds gathered quickly. Before Min could notice, the rain began to pour down heavily. The raindrops were as heavy as rocks falling to the ground, creating rumbling sounds. Min and Max hurriedly looked for shelter. They both ran into a small cave next to the stream, which could shield them from the heavy rain. But once inside, Min realized that the safety they had found would not last long. The rain was getting stronger, and the sound of the rushing stream seemed to become a threatening sound. Min saw a faint light from the flashlight in his backpack, but when he turned it on, the light only illuminated a small area and was immediately dimmed by the raindrops seeping in. Max lay down in the corner of the cave, panting, his eyes closed, but he knew the dog could not endure that long. Min sat down next to Max, holding his hand, trying to keep him warm. Although there was little he could do to help Max recover quickly, Min knew he couldn't let Max feel lonely at this moment. The hunting dog Max had protected Min all the way, but now Min would have to face the challenge not only for himself, but also for the wonderful friend he had found in Max. The rain kept falling, getting heavier and heavier. Min tried to create some dry space by placing a few more of his clothes under Max, but he could feel the dog's exhaustion growing more and more obvious. Max didn't move as much as before. His eyes were no longer shining brightly, but instead had a weak look, as if he was slowly losing his vitality. Min began to feel helpless. He couldn't help Max anymore. No matter how hard he tried to keep him warm, shield him, or comfort him, the dog was still getting weaker, and Min didn't know what to do to save Max. His heart became heavy. He couldn't accept losing his loyal friend, but he had no way to help Max recover quickly. Both of them were now in a difficult situation, with unforeseen dangers. Min couldn't just sit still and watch Max suffer like that. Min sat looking at Max, his heart filled with emotion. The boy realized that everything Max had done, everything the dog had sacrificed, was not just for him. Max had embarked on this journey for a deep reason that Min couldn't fully understand. Perhaps Max had a mission within him that the boy didn't know about. Min looked into Max's eyes, and then an idea flashed in his mind. If Max could endure and fight like that, then Min had to be stronger too. He couldn't let Max go in vain. With all his remaining strength, Min stood up and turned back outside the cave. He knew that there might be many dangers lurking, but he also understood that if he did nothing, Max would have no chance of survival. He couldn't just sit and wait for the rain to stop. He had to act immediately. Min quickly packed his things, patted Max, and tried to wake the dog up. "Max, we have to go. We can't give up now. You have to fight like how you protected me." Max moved slightly, then slowly stood up. Although still weak, the dog still tried to walk. Min felt the strength in Max's every step, and he also felt a greater determination. No matter how fierce the rain was, they would not give up. He and Max would face the next challenges together. Under the pouring rain, Min and Max continued their journey, not knowing what dangers awaited them ahead. But one thing was certain, they would never give up on each other. Because the friendship between Min and Max is not something that can be easily broken. The dog protected Min, and now Min will protect Max, not only with his strength, but with all his heart. Min feels the bond between him and Max growing stronger. Every step they take, no matter how difficult, contains an unbreakable trust. He knows that this friendship will be the only thing that helps them overcome all challenges, no matter what the future holds. The heavy rain finally stopped after a long time. The ground was still wet, but the air became fresher, and the first rays of dawn shone through the gray clouds. Min and Max, after a long and arduous night, continued their journey. Max had not yet fully recovered from the battle with the wolf and the injuries from the rain, but the dog was no longer as weak as before. Even though his body was tired, Max still did not give up, always walking beside Min with steady steps. Min felt the determination in Max's every step. He did not want to let Max bear any more challenges, but he also understood that Max would not give up. That was the protective instinct of a loyal friend. Min looked into Max's eyes and realized that what they had experienced was not just a challenge with nature, but a journey to find inner strength. Not only did he learn to protect Max, but he also learned that sometimes, in the most difficult of circumstances, it was perseverance and loyalty that would get them through it all. Min felt a wave of hope flood through him, as they emerged from the woods and saw a dirt road. It was the road he remembered, well, the road that led home. However, despite the fatigue that still clung to him, Min couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope in his heart. Max, we're almost home, Min said, but not just to Max, but to himself. It felt like encouragement. He started walking faster, hoping that if he could get Max home safely, the dog would be healed and they could both live their days in peace, without having to run away or worry about those mysterious forces. Max didn't show any signs of fatigue. Every step he took was a confirmation that nothing could stop them. Even though his body had suffered a lot, Max's love and loyalty to Min made it impossible for him to stop. Min felt it in Max's every step, and that harmony made him even more determined. As they walked a distance, the sky gradually brightened and Min began to feel more relieved. But Min's joy did not last long. Suddenly, from afar, a noise rang out again. Min stopped, frowning, feeling the uneasiness return to his heart. Those were big trucks, the sound of their engines. Coming from ahead, Min saw the silhouettes of the people he had met in the forest last night. They returned, not giving up, and this time, they seemed to be carrying tools and weapons. Min held Max's hand tightly, feeling tense. He knew that things were not as simple as he expected. It seemed that they were not simply people looking for Max, but they had a clear purpose, a plot that Min could not fully understand. And now, when Min and Max were getting closer to home, they had to face unexpected challenges. Max sensed the anxiety in Min. The dog stood firm, although still injured, its eyes were not afraid. Min knew that this was the time for them to face these people again. He couldn't let Max fall into their hands. They had both suffered too much to just give in. Min pulled Max closer, gripping the dog's fur tightly. Max, if they come near, we have to protect each other, okay? Min said, his voice filled with determination. He knew that, no matter what happened, Max would never give up. The mysterious group stepped out of the car, looking towards Min and Max. The man who had spoken to Min last night stepped forward, his eyes quiet and determined. Boy, we don't want to hurt you. But we need Max. Let us take him away. Min felt that those words were not only a threat but also a challenge. He knew that this was not the time to be gentle, because if they could get Max back, they would do anything. But Min also knew one thing. No matter what they did, Max would never be deceived or taken advantage of by these people. No. Max is my friend, Min said firmly. We've been through everything together, and I won't let you take my only friend away. The man's eyes turned cold, but also somewhat respectful. You may not understand, but we will come back. And next time, we may not leave so easily. Min stood firm, feeling Max's protection. Neither of them said anything more, but their hearts were filled with determination. After the group left, Min and Max continued walking towards the house, full of anxiety, but also full of determination. Min couldn't predict what would happen, but one thing was certain, they would never give up on each other. No matter what mysteries or challenges they face, Min and Max will always be together, because they know that their friendship is unbreakable. Min deeply feels that, although this world may be difficult and full of dangers, the friendship between him and Max is unbreakable. Max's sacrifice, his loyalty and determination have taught Min that, sometimes, friendship is the greatest strength to help us overcome all challenges. After the tense confrontation with a mysterious group, Min and Max continue their journey, but the boy's heart was no longer as light as before. Although the group had temporarily retreated, Min clearly felt that the dangers were not over. Their threats still echoed in his mind. He knew that if he did not act now, there would come a time when Max would have to face real danger. The two continued to walk through the trails, where Min had walked when he was young, but this time, everything was different. The feeling of peace was gone, replaced by a feeling of tension that permeated every step. Min could not stop, could not retreat. He knew that if he was not strong, Max would not be able to continue fighting. However, Max's steps became slower and slower, as if the dog was gradually losing strength. Min clearly felt Max's fatigue, and the fear of what would happen in the future became even heavier. We have to hurry, Max, Min said, his voice trembling slightly. You have to stay strong, we will go home soon. But Max only looked at the boy with gentle eyes. Even though his body was exhausted, the dog still refused to give up. Together with Min, Max had fought through the challenges, and his loyalty did not allow him to stop. But Min clearly felt that Max might not have enough strength to continue. As Min and Max continued to walk, the sky began to darken again, and a cold wind blew. Rain began to fall lightly, and the space around them became damp and cold. Min turned to look at Max and saw that the dog was no longer walking steadily like before. Max staggered for a moment, then collapsed to the ground. Min ran back in panic, trying to help Max up. "Max, are you okay?" Min shouted, but Max did not respond. The dog lay still, its eyes closed. Min felt his heart shatter. He could not let Max go. He had not prepared for this moment, the moment when Max would no longer be by his side. Min tried to shake Max awake, but the dog only gasped. Blood from the previous wounds was still oozing out. Max could no longer walk. Min felt something deep in his heart, a sacrifice that Max had made for him. Min looked into Max's eyes. And then, as if realizing that the dog had suffered too much, suffered for the sake of protecting him. "You don't need to protect me anymore," Min said, tears starting to roll down his cheeks. "You did everything, Max." Min held Max in his arms, no longer afraid. Although there were no words, in Min's heart, he knew that this was not the end. This was an unconditional sacrifice, and Max had done everything for their friendship. Min decided not to give up. He couldn't let Max go without doing anything. He knew that this friendship wasn't something that could be easily forgotten. Even though Max couldn't walk anymore, Min wouldn't let the dog suffer this pain alone. Min took a deep breath, determined to do everything he could to save Max. The boy decided to turn back, going deeper into the forest, where Min remembered the small streams and cliffs he had passed. Min hoped that if he could find a safe shelter, he could take care of Max and help the dog recover. But every step Min took felt like a challenge. He felt helpless as he could do nothing more than try to move faster. Max was still in his arms, weak but not resisting. Min felt the love from Max. Even though the dog could not speak, Min understood that Max was still there for him. As Min gradually walked deeper into the forest, he suddenly noticed a dim light ahead. He quickly ran towards it, hoping to find a place to save Max. The light was from a small house in the middle of the forest, where a veterinarian was taking care of the animals. Min happily ran to the door and knocked. The middle-aged woman opened the door, seeing Min and Max in a bad state. She quickly pulled them inside the house. "Oh my gosh, this dog is badly injured," she said, but her eyes were still full of comfort. "Little boy, let me help him. But we need to act quickly." Min, although still very worried, finally felt a little hopeful. The doctor quickly began to treat Max, bandaging the wounds and injecting painkillers into the dog. Min sat next to her, watching the doctor's every move. "Thank you," Min whispered, tears welling up again. Max, although still weak, began to show signs of recovery. Min couldn't believe his eyes when he saw Max open his eyes, wagging his tail slightly. The boy held Max's hand, feeling life slowly returning. After a period of treatment, Max gradually recovered. Although not completely healthy, the dog began to eat and drink and showed positive signs. Min couldn't believe this miracle. He never gave up hope, and in the end, Max's love and loyalty helped them both overcome challenges that no one could have imagined. As Max stood firmly on all fours, Min looked into the dog's eyes. "Thank you, Max. Thank you for everything." Max said nothing, but his eyes were shining, full of gratitude. The two of them didn't need more words. They had overcome all hardships, and their friendship had never changed. Min realized that nothing was more precious than friendship and loyalty. No matter how many difficulties they faced, Max had always been by his side. And now he and Max had overcome the greatest challenge of their lives. An unspoken promise had been kept. They would always be together, overcoming all difficulties together. After Max recovered with the help of the veterinarian, Min and the dog continued their journey. But even though Max was healthier, they could not return to their peaceful life as before. The past days had changed them forever, and the presence of the mysterious group was always a potential threat. Min knew that, although Max could now walk normally, their story was not over. They continued walking through the streets that Min was familiar with, but his steps were now heavy. He could not stop thinking about what had happened. Would the group still follow them? And would they continue to face unforeseen dangers? Although worried, Min could not stop. He knew that Max would never give up, and if the dog was so strong, he had to be strong too. Min was determined to protect Max because their friendship had overcome too many challenges to be broken. One morning, when the sun was high in the sky, Min and Max found a small village located in a peaceful valley. Although very tired, Min felt a glimmer of hope in his heart. Perhaps this was where they could find some peace after the difficult days. Max walked beside Min, his eyes never leaving the boy. Min could feel the invisible bond between them, stronger than ever. They didn't need to say anything more, because they both understood each other with all their hearts. This village seemed peaceful and strange, with no sign of mysterious people. Min and Max stopped at a small cafe, where a middle-aged woman stood to welcome them. "Hello everyone, can I help you?" the woman asked with a gentle gaze. Min smiled slightly, feeling relieved. "We just need to rest for a bit." "Thank you very much." The woman led Min and Max to a small table near the window, overlooking the green fields. Min sat down, letting out a long sigh after a hard day. Max lay down under the table, his eyes still fixed on the boy. Both of them felt the peace of this place, but Min couldn't ignore the uneasy feeling in his heart. A peaceful day, too peaceful. Could it be a sign that something was wrong? Min couldn't let his mind be dominated by worries, but he knew that in this life, everything could change in the blink of an eye. While Min and Max were resting, a man walked into the shop. He was wearing a black suit, with a wide hat that covered most of his face, but Min could feel the familiarity in the man's eyes. Although he wasn't sure, Min could see the tension in the man's eyes when he saw Max. The man walked closer to Min, his eyes not leaving the dog. "This dog is called Max, right?" he asked, his voice low and reserved. Min sat up straight, feeling uneasy. "Yes, this is Max. What do you know about this dog?" Min couldn't hide the doubt in his voice. The man looked at Max again, then back at Min, his eyes filled with worry. "Ah, I am one of the people who studied Max. But I'm not the one you should worry about. I came to warn you. The people you met in the woods are not the only ones who want to possess Max. They are trying to get back what they think is the technology that Max carries within him." Min was stunned, unable to believe what the man had just said. Max was not just an ordinary dog, but also part of a research project. Everything from Max's life to what happened had become too complicated. But Min knew one thing for sure. Max was the only friend he had, and he would never let anyone take Max away from him. The man continued, "Those people don't just want Max. They want to control him to use him as a weapon. And if they don't act now, they won't stop." Min felt stunned by this information. He never thought that Max would play such an important role. Max wasn't just Min's beloved dog, he was also part of a larger plan that Min couldn't fully understand. But one thing Min was sure of, he couldn't let anyone take advantage of Max. Min looked at Max, his eyes determined. "We won't leave each other. No matter what happens, I will protect you." The man raised his eyebrows, as if he saw the determination in Min's eyes. "If you decide not to leave, I advise you to prepare for what's to come. Because those people don't give up easily on their goals." Min nodded, not wavering at all. He and Max would face any challenge together. Even if they had to sacrifice, Min would not let Max get hurt. Again, Min and Max walked out of the coffee shop, full of anxiety about what was to come. But Min knew one thing, they couldn't run away anymore. This was the time to face and stand together. Min and Max's friendship had been through so many challenges, and now they were ready to face even more terrible things. No matter what the mysterious group did, Min and Max would protect this friendship together. Nothing could break the bond between them, and no one could take Max away, Min's most loyal friend. Min realized that, no matter how dangerous the situation became, the most important thing was the loyalty and friendship that Max brought. He knew that with Max by his side, nothing was impossible. Their friendship would be the only strength they had to overcome. Min and Max can't continue living in hiding forever. After meeting the man in the coffee shop, Min realizes that the mysterious group isn't just looking for Max. They have a bigger plan. Things have become too serious to ignore. Max isn't just a dog, he's an important part of a dangerous research project. Min and Max continue their journey, but this time, Min knows they're not safe. The people they're facing aren't just dog hunters. They're a powerful force that could use Max for evil. And Min can't let that happen. He can't stand by and watch his friend being used. However, Min can't do anything alone. He can't face these people without help. But now every minute that passes makes Min feel more and more burdened. Max is still the loyal dog he loved, but can he continue to fight new challenges? One day, when Min and Max were resting in a small house they had rented, Min heard a strange noise from outside. He stood up, walked to the window, looked out, and saw black cars parked nearby. The mysterious people had come. Min felt his heart tighten, and at the same time, Max also felt the tension, stood up, and started growling. Min couldn't help but realize that this was the time to face the truth. These people had found out where he and Max were hiding. He couldn't escape anymore. Min decided to step outside to face the mysterious group once and for all. He couldn't let Max fall into their hands. They had threatened them, had followed them, and now they had found their hiding place. When Min stepped outside, the mysterious group was already waiting. The man who had warned Min about the danger the day before now stood before him with a cold attitude. He no longer showed any patience or sympathy. "You can't keep running away," the man said, his eyes emotionless. "Max is what we need, and we won't stop until we get him." Min could feel the determination in the man's voice. But he also realized that this was their time to fight. Min couldn't back down anymore. He looked into Max's eyes, and Max looked back at him. Without words, Min understood this was their final fight. "Max will never belong to you," Min shouted, not afraid. "We will fight until the end." Min and Max's footsteps grew stronger as they stood face to face with those who wanted to take his friend away. Max roared menacingly, his eyes shining with the will to fight. The man frowned, not expecting Min to be so strong. He ordered the others to advance, preparing to capture Max. But as soon as they got closer, Max charged at them with strength and agility that few could have imagined. The mysterious people had no time to react. They were defeated by Max without warning. Min did not stand by and watch. He rushed in with Max, supporting the dog in the fight. Min knew that this was a difficult battle, but he was not afraid. He and Max had been through too much to give up on each other easily. The fight became intense, and Min realized that they could not hold out for long. Although Max was strong and brave, the others were no amateurs. They had clear weapons and strategies, and they were clearly well prepared. Min knew that if he did not act now, Max would not be able to continue protecting him. He had to make a decision. Min saw an opportunity. When one of the mysterious people was careless, Min rushed towards him and restrained him, making him unable to continue attacking. But this also injured Min in the collision. Max immediately ran over, bent down to help Min stand up. Blood flowed from Min's wound, but he did not stop. He had to protect Max, had to keep the dog. As the battle gradually ended and the others began to give up, Min felt his whole body heavy with pain. But seeing Max still there, strong and loyal, Min felt he could not give up. Max was still standing firmly beside him, like a promise to never give up. Min looked at Max, tears rolling down his cheeks. "Thank you, Max. Thank you for always being by my side." Max just looked at Min, his eyes clear. No need for words. The dog had done everything for this friendship. The final battle was over, but Min and Max knew that things would never be the same again. But no matter what, their friendship would always be a strong support. They protected each other, fought for each other, and would never let any challenges tear them apart. Min looked at Max one last time, and then the two began a new journey, where there were no more threats, only the peaceful days they deserved. Min understood that life would always have challenges, but the friendship between him and Max was something that could not be defeated. No matter what forces they faced, they would always be together, fighting to the end, because this friendship was priceless. After the intense battle with the mysterious group, Min and Max no longer have to worry about being threatened. Their friendship has been tested and tempered through difficult moments, but now they know that nothing can tear them apart. Although Max is no longer an ordinary dog, to Min, the dog is still the most loyal friend he has. Min does not need to understand all the secrets about Max, as well as about the people who want to take advantage of the dog. He only knows that Max has always been by his side, and that is enough. After the intense confrontation, Min and Max decide not to return to their old lives. They have had a long journey, and now it is time to start a new life where there are no threats, no people who want to destroy their friendship. But the road ahead is not an easy one. Min and Max, after a long tiring day, decided to go to a small village nearby, where people lived in peace and hospitality. This village was a place where Min felt he could rebuild his life. He and Max found a small house, a place to call home, where there were no enemies chasing them. Day by day, Min and Max spent time tending to the garden, walking around the village and making friends with the locals. They no longer had to worry about running away or hiding. The friendship between Min and Max became stronger than ever when nothing could interrupt the peaceful life they had built. Min felt a strange sense of happiness as he sat under the shade of a tree in his garden, watching Max running around and playing with the children in the village. He no longer had to worry about the dark days. Max, his loyal dog, has been with him through it all, and now he can enjoy peaceful moments with his best friend. Min realized that throughout the journey, the most important thing is not the destination, but the lessons they have learned. The friendship between him and Max is not just a normal relationship, but an indispensable part of his life. The dog is not just a companion, but also a protector, a savior, and a bringer of hope when everything seems to be falling apart. Max has proven that loyalty and friendship can overcome everything. There is nothing more precious than a friend who is always ready to protect and sacrifice for you. Even though life has been peaceful, Min never forgets what they have been through. The challenges, the battles, the pain, and the scary moments have taught Min one important thing. Friendship is the only thing that cannot be taken away. No matter how many hardships they face, Min and Max will always be together. Min looked at Max, his eyes filled with gratitude. Thank you for everything. I will never forget what we have been through. Max only responded with a bright look and a slight wag of his tail, as if to say that, for the dog, this friendship is the most precious thing. Min and Max, two inseparable friends, continue to live their peaceful lives, but the stories they had experienced still live in their hearts. They know that no matter how much time passes, this friendship will always be a solid foundation for everything they will build in the future. Min and Max's journey is not only an arduous adventure, but also a journey of maturity, resilience, and unconditional love. The challenges have shaped them, but it is this strong friendship that will continue to be the guiding light in all of their lives. And so, Min and Max's story ends, but their friendship will last forever, transcending time and space, as a symbol of the power of loyalty and love. Min realized that, although life may change, this friendship is the only thing that will not change. Max has been an indispensable part of Min's life, and the boy understood that, no matter what challenges come, they will always fight together, never giving up. In the end, Min and Max have found the peace they deserve. After all the challenges, they have proven that friendship and loyalty can overcome all difficulties, all dangers. Their journey is not just a story of survival, but a journey of love, sacrifice, and the power of friendship. With Max by his side, Min is no longer afraid. Together they have overcome the darkest night, and now they enjoy peaceful moments under the sun. A story ends, but the friendship between Min and Max will last forever, as a symbol of loyalty and unconditional sacrifice. Thank you for accompanying Min and Max throughout this journey. Their story is just a testament to the power of true friendship, which nothing can break. If you feel touched and want to continue following inspiring stories about friendship, loyalty, and the power to overcome challenges, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Share this video with your loved ones so that we can create memorable stories together. Thank you for your support, and see you in the next videos. Let friendship and resilience be the driving force for us to reach for better things. Thank you so much for joining me in creating this story. Always remember, every step can lead to greater things when you have a true companion.